Imagine waking up to headlines saying the United States just launched military strikes on Iran. Missiles, fighter jets, military bases hit. Suddenly the world begins asking one terrifying question. Are we on the edge of another major war in the Middle East? But here's the real question most people are asking. Why would the United States attack Iran in the first place? To understand that, we have to go back decades. Believe it or not, the United States and Iran were once close allies. Before 1979, Iran was ruled by a king called the Shah. The Shah had strong political and military ties with the United States. America supported his government, and Iran became one of Washington's most important partners in the Middle East. But many Iranians believed the Shah was corrupt and too dependent on Western powers. Then in 1979, everything changed. A massive uprising known as the Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah and replaced him with an Islamic government that strongly opposed the United States. From that moment forward, relations between the two countries collapsed. Soon after the revolution, Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They captured 52 American diplomats and held them hostage for 444 days. The crisis shocked the world. Americans watched the news every day as their diplomats were held captive. This event permanently damaged relations between the two nations. From that moment on, the U.S. government viewed Iran as a hostile power. And Iran viewed the United States as its main enemy. The tension between the two countries would continue for decades. Over the years, the conflict between the US and Iran rarely turned into direct war. Instead, it became what experts call a proxy conflict. Iran supported armed groups across the Middle East such as Hezbollah and other militias. These groups often opposed US allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, the United States increased military presence in the region. American forces built bases across Iraq, the Persian Gulf, and other nearby countries. This created a dangerous situation. Both sides were competing for influence across the Middle East, even if they weren't directly fighting each other. But things would escalate even further in the 2000s. One of the biggest reasons for conflict is Iran's nuclear program. Iran says its nuclear program is meant for energy and scientific research. But the United States and several other countries worry Iran might be trying to build nuclear weapons. If Iran developed nuclear weapons, it could dramatically change the balance of power in the Middle East. So the US government has tried to stop it. There have been negotiations, sanctions, and even covert operations. At one point, a major agreement called the Iran nuclear deal attempted to limit Iran's nuclear activities. But tensions continued to rise. Eventually, the United States began launching military strikes targeting Iran's nuclear facilities and military infrastructure. In recent years, the conflict has grown even more dangerous. One major moment happened in 2020, when the US launched a drone strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. He was one of the most powerful military leaders in Iran. Iran responded with missile strikes on US bases in Iraq. The cycle of retaliation continued. More recently, the United States has launched operations targeting Iranian missile sites, naval forces, and military infrastructure. US leaders say the goal is to stop Iran's nuclear program, protect American troops and allies, prevent attacks against global shipping routes. Some operations were also meant to weaken Iran's military capabilities and influence in the region. The biggest fear is that these attacks could trigger a much larger conflict. Iran has powerful allies and influence across the Middle East. If the fighting expands, it could involve multiple countries. The region also contains critical oil routes like the Strait of Hormuz, where about 20% of the world's oil passes through. If conflict disrupts that route, it could cause a global economic crisis. That's why tensions between the United States and Iran are closely watched by the entire world. So why did the US attack Iran? It's not just about one event. It's the result of decades of rivalry, political tension, nuclear fears, and power struggles in the Middle East. And today, the relationship between these two nations remains one of the most dangerous geopolitical conflicts in the world. The real question now is, will this tension lead to peace, or to an even bigger war?